this is gonna be an interesting one. In today's video, we're gonna be completely deleting the ABS on the 300L, putting on new brake lines that bypass all that. In fact, we're gonna have to put that in the second video because this is gonna be a bit of a process just in itself to get rid of all this. Also, yeah, look, I got some stuff in the background. That's a skeleton man. Halloween, I got a bunch of others. Here's the thing, guys. I got like 3 nieces and 2 daughters. It's a lot of girls. And there's like this weird rotating thing of clothes. For some reason, my house has become the central hub of all this crap. And I hate it. And that piece of furniture over there is supposed to go to my brother-in-law, but he's building a new house right now. It's not ready yet. Some boxes of stuff for rotation. I hate it. There's nothing I can do about it. And people go, Jake, it's just your garage, like chill out. Like, this is where I work. Also, apparently that flag is the wrong way around. Apparently if you're displaying on like that, it's supposed to be the other way. Even though that makes no sense, you got the flag like this, you flip it like that. So I could flip the flag around, but there's a tag and a seam on the other side. I guess I can remove the tag. I can't do much about the seam. You wanna live with the seam? I got the sword there. I wanted to put a rake going the other way.
Shut the, no one cares.
The deal with ABS is it always gets some opinions going. You know, that's something I've noticed about this. When you say, oh, I don't like ABS, and you get these people come in, MotoGP racers have ABS, and you're not better than them. Yes, but they also have a way better ABS system than we have. I don't hate ABS, but this bike is a dual sport. Dual sports are where I'm kind of like, look, I don't know, man. And also, this is a budget bike, so it has a very simplistic ABS system. There's no lean sensitive stuff in here, at least I don't think there is. There's no like dirt mode. All we can do with this ABS system is disable it to the rear. And at least you can do that. It's just a simple button on the dash, although every time you cycle the key, it re-engages it. That's super annoying. I don't feel like I need it. I feel like I'm fine without it. I've been riding enough bikes like this for years. And when we go to Supermoto trim, the ABS is not gonna understand how much more grip and braking power we have. I know it's gonna be way too intrusive in Supermoto trim. I mean, ABS is basically the fun police. You can't even do a stoppie with the ABS on, let alone deep, heavy brake, which we know the Supermoto setup's gonna be able to do with the extra grip it's gonna have. I could just disable it. There's literally 2 fuses. One's under the seat, and then there's one in this other side panel. There's actually 2 on this bike. And I'm sure if you yank both of them out, the system will be disabled. I've even heard of people in the past who want more control over than just being able to turn it on and off, actually add like toggle switches to things like that and have a manual switch they could fully disable it. And we could do that. However, having all that spaghetti line of brake lines running everywhere on the bike, I mean, it is gonna cause a little bit less brake feel. In other words, when you hit the lever, when you're pressing on it with your foot, the feedback and response back you're getting is always gonna be a little delayed. You know, even though hydraulic fluid can't compress, the longer you have a link of anything, even if it's a straight bar of steel, if it's 10 miles long and I move it at one end, it's not gonna immediately move at the other end, as crazy as that would be, right? By deleting it, we're gonna be going directly from the caliper to the master as if it was a non-ABS, and that's gonna give us much better feedback. As well as we'll be switching to some custom steel braided lines we got from Supermoto. We'll talk about more of those in the next video when we actually install those. They look super cool. They're all red, white, and blue and match the bike. Also, by taking off all the equipment, the bike's a little bit lighter. It's only by a tiny amount and just less bulk and things. And bikes like this, I really like them to be about as simple as you can get away with. Plus this bike, since it has a non-ABS version, I've already looked into it, the speedometer is read off of the engine, so we're not gonna lose our speedo. Some bikes you'll lose that. But there's actually a lot of complicated stuff with this. Let me show you what exactly is going on with that. Let's say this is your normal braking system. This would be a non-ABS. You pull this lever and here's where it pivots, acting on that piston. We're pushing this down and we're gonna drive hydraulic fluid, your brake fluid, down our brake line to our caliper, which squeezes the brake. Except when you have an ABS system, that's not how it works. We have a spaghetti mess of wires. They go all around. We get to this, the fun police, then it goes to the brake. Basically, it's got its own little piston in here and it can pull back. It can decide, hey, I think you're applying too much brake pressure, you're locking the tires up. I don't like that, so I'm gonna pull back on this slightly. And if you've ever felt it, when the ABS kicks and you're on the brake, whether it's the pedal or your hand, it's almost like a vibration. That's literally that little piston inside there pulling itself back so the wheel doesn't lock up. How does it know that? Well, that is where it has all kinds of fun stuff. An ABS ring, sensor on here, and that's gonna go talk to ECU. Also, we have a button, that's gonna talk to the ECU. And then finally, the ECU is gonna talk to the ABS pump. So it's gonna be a lot of stuff to remove. I think this bike has got a simple enough computer on it that if we start pulling all that, I don't believe we're gonna trip a check engine light. The other goofy thing that we're gonna run into is there's a bunch of hard lines on this bike, I've noticed. Those are thrown in usually pretty early in the build when they're assembling these things, usually before the engine's in. And I'm not sure how easy we'll be able to get those out intact. We'll get them out. Maybe a more caveman approach. We'll have to see when we get there. The reason I didn't buy a non-ABS from the beginning was these bikes are still pretty hard to come by. So the first thing we got to do though is we have to remove all kinds of panels and stuff. So I think we'll just start by taking stuff apart and seeing what we can see. It does look like there's a number of brake lines that run under the gas tank, so I'm gonna pull that off as well. 4 8mm bolts, shouldn't be a big deal. I know some people are gonna be like, I don't know, man. There's gonna be a lot of people that say, I don't know, man, watching this video. Unplug the fuel pump. Should be one of the vents. Push down on this tab while you're kind of pulling out. Just, oh, there we go. Come on, come on, come on. There it is. Ha! At some point I'm gonna have to remove the wheel, so I might as well go and do that now. If you didn't see our axle slider video and hand guards, go check that out. Everything done to this bike has got a video. There's something on it, you're like, wow, I wanna know how he did that. Just go look through the playlist, it's all in there. One of the things you'll need if you get one of these bikes is a giant 14 Allen. I think I'm just gonna start trying to bleed the brakes as best I can, because there's a lot of fluid to be bled out. Anyone who's seen me bleed brakes has heard me talk about this thing right here. This is a vacuum bleeder. When I say vacuum bleeder, I mean a real vacuum bleeder, not that stupid hand pump thing. This is gonna suck all the brake fluid out of the system. We have a lot to get out, so if you ever need an excuse to buy one of these things, this is a good one. I'm gonna pull the cap off the upper master up here, and I'm gonna put a rag around it just because brake fluid is very corrosive. Oh, am I smart for putting that rag up there? See? I'm already spilling it like an idiot. Onto my fingers. Brake fluid feels good on your hands. Look at this old nasty sensor line. Well, now that I've removed one of the cables and actually unplugged it, we should get an ABS warning light. And we do. It's 2 fuses on this, 1 fuse on here. I'm gonna see what happens if I pull those fuses, if I can get that to turn off. Last one. All right, now I have all the ABS fuses. I don't want to just leave this open connector up in here. I put some tape around it. I usually just do a strip over like this. Do another going crisscross in the opposite way. Do a little electrical tape around the whole thing to kind of seal that in. I like to stretch it tight as I'm going around it because it makes it conform and do cool things. Yeah, stuff that back down and we'll zip tie it. I'm gonna zip tie right here to this other cable, kind of keeping it similar to where it was. We're into it now, man. So while I'm over here working in this area, this little block, this is the front brake line where it comes into, and then this hard line goes down here into the pumps down there. So I think what I'll do right here is I'll actually unscrew this line, try to pull the brake line out through this way. There's gonna be some fluid that drizzles out of here. That's actually pretty dry. I thought there'd be stuff drizzling out of that. That did pretty good. It's an 8mm, sort of another hard point right here. Pretty long screw. I hope I have enough room to get this thing out of here without it running into something. I'm telling you, man, this ABS stuff with all these lines like this is put on pretty early on. There could be just the dumbest things getting in the way. Oh my God, do I have to pull the forks to get this out? No, there it is. It's like a little puzzle there. I just had to go a little lower with it. So why am I going this way? I think it might be easier at this point to bring the whole thing out. That's definitely gonna drip. Yeah, because this is lower than the bleed point. You'd expect a little bit to come out from here. From where that hard line hooked up right here, it comes around and goes into the pump, which is right down here. Then it comes back up to this line, and that goes around to the handlebar. So let's crack this one loose. Oh. Switching gears here for a minute, let's undo this button. All right, well that's that undone. This is our leftover connector, and I'm gonna do the electrical tape treatment to it like we did to the other one. I can actually just clip this one back on where it came from. You're left with this little guy. I've got one of those little Trail Tech water temp sensors. And who knows, maybe I'll use this to mount it on it in a future video. So right now I'm gonna leave this on. If I wanted to take it off, there's a screw back here. I could pull this off. So the actual ABS pump is right behind here, and I think we need to get to that now. Oh, so yeah, there it goes. I'm gonna pop off this overflow for the radiator. A little better view what I'm looking at. This is the pump back here. It has a huge connector right here going into it. It almost looks like its own ECU, except this is the ECU right here. Let me make everything. Oh, wow, look at that connector right there. These two hard lines right here are the ones that went to the front brake, which are now not connected to anything. So I can go ahead and start pulling those guys off. Now these hard lines are very nice and little because they're just right here. They're in a short run. And then you see here in a little bit when we go to the rear lines, you'll see they're a lot bigger. Oh, look at that. Look at that cute little guy. That's nothing. Those other ones are pretty good size from what I can tell. They run all the way down to the back behind the swing arm. Time to move on to the rear. Gotta start working these lines out now, just like we did the front. By the way, these are 7mm. That's hilarious. Look at that, I got this one set up for surgery here. I think we got enough there. The sensor right here. See how this clip right here has a part that holds the ABS? I actually did order the ones that don't have that on there from the non-ABS, which would seem silly, like who cares, right? But dude, these things are only a couple bucks. Some kind of brake line bracket way up in there. We need to remove that as well. We got something similar right here. Off the ABS pump, the brake lines both come down here into the hard line and actually run right down here on the inside of the frame. At least they're pretty malleable. There's no way I'm getting them through there. So they were pretty easy to manhandle, so honestly, I'm just trying not to scratch the frame or anything. I didn't realize steel brake lines were made of butter. But now what? They go from here to down like that. What do I do? Now, just gotta be careful with these jagged edges I just created. I'm gonna push these through. Oh no, I think from here the next move may be undo the banjos and try to pull them out. Oh God, it's a little tricky with nothing holding this thing. I have an idea. Jeremy Clarkson way is always the good way. Is there even room in here? What a silly design. Fine, then you're gonna get a stupid 12 point. I hope it scuffs you up. All right, the little sensor cable goes up to here, plugs in right there. We're down to the final boss. We're down to the pump, the heart of the system, and all I think is left is that and then this 10mm. God, this whole thing's trying to rotate on me. Come on, dude. There it goes. This is it. We get this off, and this is as deep as we need to go. Is there some other screw holding this down? Oh yeah, there's one on the bottom. It's like when you think the boss is dead and he pops back and has like a little, ah! It's so rubber mounted, it's jacking all over the place. Come out. Oh, that thing is weighty. Oh, look at all the room we're gonna have now, all the room for activities. That's a chunky little thing. All the ABS components are removed. The fuses are pulled. What's gonna happen when we turn this on? Oh, we have a solid ABS light, which I could live with. Main thing I didn't want to get was some sort of check engine light. There still is a few things we can remove, and that's these ABS rings. This is what the sensor ran off of. There's one on here, there's one here. Do you have to remove them? No, I could leave these in there. It wouldn't be a big deal. We've done this much work. Let's go ahead and pull them off. Besides, I've got something special in mind for this one. That's what I thought was gonna happen. Time to make people uncomfortable. Slightly more comfortable. Oh, it's so much lighter. Are you gonna be my friend? That makes me happy. Now we can start putting the bike all the way back together. Well, that's interesting. Something I didn't consider is that now the rotor is slightly further over. I'm gonna have to space that rotor out slightly. I know we didn't really talk much about it, but we have put an oversized rotor on here. We'll get more into this in the next video and the one after that when we're doing the steel braided lines and then the Supermoto kit. But for right now, what you need to know is basically this oversized rotor is going to give it better braking performance. I have one of these for the dirt setup and one of these for the Supermoto setup. I have two. I swap setups. I don't need to try to pull this relocation bracket out every time. I can just run this big 320. There's a lot of people that say a 320 millimeter rotor is too aggressive for the dirt. They're a bunch of weenies. Not a problem at all. I did it for years in my WR450, but I don't want to be taking this bracket on and off too. So it'd be nice to put this on with a silly amount of red Loctite in there and know that these will be secured. Now, of course, these have to be inserted in from the back side. And you may think I've screwed up by not putting it on yet, but turn this in the right location, I can slip this through. At least I think I can. All right, so the camera died at some point while I was installing that, sorry. But it's very simple. It's a relocation bracket. All this does is pull the whole caliper out a little bit so you can run this larger 320 millimeter rotor. I happen to have a spare one of these, the same rotor we're going to be running on the Supermoto kit. On the rear, our ABS ring actually set behind the rotor, so without it in there, the rotor's sitting slightly further back, causing it to just make contact with the pad. I was hoping this wouldn't be enough to make a difference, but it is. What we've done is we went out and got some nice stainless washers that are nearly about the same thickness. Now the thing is, you go buy some random washers like this, they're not all the same. So I actually went to the store and brought, well, you know, measuring calipers with me and got 4 of these that are all pretty well within the size, enough that it won't make a difference. The important thing is if you're gonna do something like that, one, you make sure that they're all pretty consistent, and then they need to be the right inner and outer diameter. You see this locks in pretty good. Throw some more Loctite on these. Don't want the brakes coming undone. The washer could sort of flop around in there, but once the thicker part of the bolt, called the shank area, hits that washer, it's gonna kind of guide it. So I can't just start pushing it in. I need to kind of guide it with my fingers until this is in enough. The bolt still, with these washers in there, just sticks out the back. So we know we're getting as much bite on there as we can. Your other option, of course, would be just to leave the ABS ring in there, and that would have clearanced it perfectly. But no, man, we've gone this far. I don't want it. Now it's sitting nice and centered on there. Nice. All right, when this video started, we had a bike that had an ABS system, and now we have a bike with no brake system whatsoever. We're gonna take care of that in the very next video. We're gonna add the brake lines. I think the really important thing though right now that you should know is that you're not even seeing the full version of this video. The full version is over on Patreon. It came out like a week ago. You join it for $1 a month. It's ad-free. You come hang out with me in the Discord chat, talk with me. I love hanging out there. Thank you for those of you who joined. You are keeping this thing going. Obviously, it would have been a lot easier just to get a non-ABS, but if you happen to be in that boat, now you know how I at least deleted the ABS system, minus the brake lines. You can always order the OEM brake lines. I went ahead and took the time to get these Supermoto ones. Give the video likes and stuff, you know, that really does. I never asked for that, and the algorithm has been a son of a please if you could help. And all right, get to next video.